welcome to an episode of the Barley, Hops, and Yarn podcast. My name is Jennifer. I'm the face behind Barley, Hops, and Yarn. This is primarily a knitting podcast, but I'll occasionally talk about some other things and show off yarns I have dyed as well. Today's episode is going to be about the Framework Bralette, which I have here. Let's get a close-up of that yarn because it is beautiful. I love it so much. And then I need to open up my notes because I didn't open those before I started, which that wasn't very smart of me, but that's okay. All right, so Framework Bralette. This is a pattern that is by Jessie Maed Designs. It is meant to accommodate from busts between 24 inches to 68 inches, and it's meant to have 11-ish inches of negative ease. Obviously, because it's a bralette, you want that to be tighter on your body than some other things. The yarn I used is from Sincere Fiber Co. The base is Dreamy Gray Yak DK. My colorway is part of her, she had a Fear collection, so this is called Thrill of the Hunt. It is 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, and then 20% gray yak. It is a 4-ply. It's a DK weight, obviously, as evidenced by the name that I already said. And it is 231 yards for 100 grams. Let's see. Now, with this particular pattern, as I said, it is meant to have 11 inches of negative ease. She does include measurement charts to help guide you in what size you should make for your cup and your bust size. And the needles that you need to use are US size 3 and 4, which is 3.25 and 3.5 millimeters for you non-US people. I read this wrong, as I often do with patterns. Nobody's surprised if you're not new. And I wound up making mine with a US 3 and a US 5, so 3.25 and 3.75 millimeter. Didn't notice that big of a difference. I mean, I had issues with fit. I think I would have had issues with fit anyway, because a lot of my fit issues were the ribbing, where I did technically use the correct needle size. I opted to make the extra large size. Now, if you have seen my other pattern recap video of a Jessie Maed pattern, that was a So Summer shirt, I went on, I don't want to say a rant because it wasn't a full-blown rant, but I did talk about how I was making another Jessie Maed pattern. That particular pattern, the So Summer, I had made a 4X, and I was making another Jessie Maed pattern that was an extra large, and how it is sometimes frustrating to, when you have a pattern that you're making it to measure, you're making it to fit your body, you have these letter sizes associated. This is the other pattern I was talking about, where it's disconcerting going from, okay, I'm making a 4X in one pattern, so I'm making an extra large in another, and it's purely because of the ease, so which option I'm choosing for. So I still stand firm in that. I still find it a little frustrating and disappointing, and I still wish that that did not happen, but you know, I'm only one person, so whatever, we'll see. Anyway, the extra large size is a 39-inch finished bust. My bust is 54 inches, so that actually is 15 inches of negative ease. But as I said, she has like some charts and a couple like formulas that you can use to help you determine which size you should make, and if based on those you're in between sizes, and she recommends you size down. The final measurement of my garment, though, even after blocking, is only 35 inches. So I technically have 19 inches of negative ease, and I still have fit problems in that it's too loose. Well, okay, I have fit problems in two ways. We'll get into that a little bit later on. The expected yardage for an extra large, because you can adjust how long you make this, is between 275 yards and 438. Now, as I said earlier, these yarns are 230 per skein. So 2 of them, wow, I'm really bad at math on the fly, because 2 of them would have been perfectly fine because 2 is 462 yards, and the most that she says this would take is 438. But I was concerned that 2 wouldn't be enough, so I bought 3. Did not need the third skein at all, because 3 is 692 yards, and I only used 361. So I have an entire skein and a half left afterwards, but I'm frogging this, so I'll go back to having 3 skeins. It'll be fine. The yarn is really, really soft, but yak is very elastic. So because of that, it stretches a lot, like so much. And that I've worn this a few times and just really haven't loved how it fits. And I've found that part of what I don't love is that because it's so stretchy and has so much elasticity, it does not support anything, which I knew going into making it that might happen, but it happened a lot more than I was comfortable with. Like, I feel like I still need to wear a bra on underneath of this, which I don't want to have to do. Like, that's, you know, it's a bralette. I don't want to have to wear anything under it. So that's disappointing. And, you know, that comes down to yarn choice. That is entirely on me. I knew going into it. I decided to take the risk. Risk did not pay off. The other fit issue I have is I don't know if it's because of my yarn choice or if it's because of my measurements, and I should have knit longer on either the ribbing or the bottom part, because you knit in the round, and then you have a little bit of ribbing, and then you have this whole section here that you're knitting in the round. And then when you get to the triangle parts, you work each triangle part individually and back and forth that. So I've found that when I'm wearing this, it's much longer in the back than I want it to be and much shorter in the front. And again, I don't know if that is because of my yarn choice, that because it's stretching so much, it's pulling up, because you know, if you have a square and then you stretch it out, it's going to get shorter, because like that's just the way fabric works. So I don't know if that is what's happening, or if it was my measurements, that like I didn't measure something properly, and because of that, that's how it's fitting me. But I don't like how short it is in the front and how long it is in the back. So I would like to make this again, because I do want this actual garment, but I think next time, obviously I'm going to pick a different yarn with a lot less elasticity, so some sort of cotton or plant-based yarn. And I'm wondering if it might be worth it to somehow hide some short rows in the front, just to get a little bit of extra length in the front. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. This is going to be a pretty short episode because I don't have that much more to say, especially since frogging it. For this pattern specifically, you need to know or be unafraid of learning how to knit in the round, as I said, knit back and forth, as I said, take accurate body measurements, gonna be very important for the fit, as evidenced by how this has turned out. You'll also need to know a center decrease. Now, Jessie does have very specific like instructions in there that I'm a very visual learner. I usually need to like watch a video to learn how to do something. And the way she has her instructions written out are very clear, so I didn't have to go watch a video or anything, so that's great. You also need to be able to knit 2 together, purl 2 together, slip, slip, knit, slip, slip, purl, and then double knit I-cord, because that's what you do for the strappy straps. And then you need to have the ability to pay attention to what you are reading, because you will be slipping some stitches with the yarn knitwise and then slipping some with the stitches purlwise. So if you're not great about paying attention to the little tiny details like that, then you may wind up with the false seam looking a little bit funky. It doesn't feel fair to give this a grade because I'm going to frog it, but I'm frogging it because of my choices that I made while knitting it. So ultimately I will say that I'm giving this a B, just because the pattern is very clearly written. It wasn't hard to understand. It's not hard to do. Like there aren't any techniques in this that are extremely difficult to do. But it's just, it has like just enough detail in it that it's engaging. So it's like a kind of a good fit between a potato chippy knit and an engaging knit, if that makes sense. As with the other Jessie Maed Designs pattern, there are lots of words, presumably because she's trying to make it so beginner friendly and accessible. That's not my brand of ADHD, so I did, you know, have to go back and read some things a few times because it didn't necessarily click the first time because there was just too much. But again, that's a me thing, that's not a pattern thing. So I think ultimately I'll give the overall thing a B, and then we'll have another one of these when I eventually one day remake this pattern with a different yarn choice and see how it turns out. But next time you see this yarn, because there will be a next time you see this yarn, I think it's going to be a spring sorrel, and with negative ease because that's how much yarn I have, and also just because it's so elastic that I think I can pretty easily get away with a negative ease spring sorrel in this yarn and not have any issues. So we'll see if that's what I ultimately end up doing, but either way you'll see this yarn again. You'll hopefully see this pattern again, just not together. If you've made it this far in the video, thanks for coming along, and if you're so inclined, please feel free to like or comment. If you are not subscribed and you've enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and helping my little channel grow, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being a subscriber and joining along. With all that being said, until the next video, have a great day.